Hello, welcome to Disability Viewpoints. My name is Mark Hughes. Our special guest for this show today are Charlie Carlson, Senior Manager of Transit Way and Development for the Metropolitan Transit Commission, and Justin Page, an attorney for the Disability Law Center. So, Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
Nice to have you, and tell us what you do at the Metropolitan Council, how long you've been there, how many jobs you've had, and give us the history.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
I currently serve as the Executive Director for Metropolitan Transportation Services at the Met Council. And what we do is we do long-range transportation planning for the region, but we also operate a variety of transit services, including contracted fixed route service, as well as the Metro Mobility System.
So you're responsible for MTC too?
Not for MTC, but for MTS, including Metro Mobility.
Oh, got it.
Prior to joining the council in December, I actually worked for Metro Transit. I did capital projects and other planning work for about 15 years prior to my current job with the council.
Charles Carlson is going to talk about the service changes and what we can expect.
Right. So thanks again. There's two changes that are coming up. They'll be taking effect November 28th, as you say. The first change relates to the service area. So the overall metro service area does not change. So there shouldn't be a change for a lot of folks in the rides that they take. The thing that will change is the ADA service area. So as viewers know, there's both a state-defined Metro Mobility service area as well as a federal ADA paratransit service area. The impetus for this change is that a number of changes to the local bus system have occurred since 2019. During the pandemic, we haven't kept up with the reductions in service of the local bus system. We have kept up with additions to the local bus system. So there have been ADA areas added to the metro since 2019, but no reductions have occurred. We haven't wanted to do that because of the pandemic and not wanting to make those changes while it's been going on.
Right, there was plenty going on with the pandemic. Is that a lot of because people are working from home probably now more than they are instead of in the office?
Really, the changes relate to local service. So while certainly people are commuting on local service, it's really other kinds of trips that define the service area. So commuter express type service has never really been how we define the ADA service area. It's just been 3/4 of a mile from the all-day local routes. So there was a route that was changed, that was actually eliminated in 2019 in the Minnetonka area, and then some other changes in other parts of the region that have resulted in this change. I want to be clear that a lot of other changes have occurred on local bus. Service was suspended as a result of the pandemic. We are not adjusting the Metro Mobility ADA service area to that geography. Those are not permanent changes. Those are suspended routes, and so we're not reflecting those. As a result, the changes are relatively minor in the scheme of things, a few percent of the potential customers, but again, folks should be able to be served on with the non-ADA or the state service that we run for Metro Mobility. So we hope to continue to make each trip and deliver each trip.
Okay.
The other big change related to this relates to the hours of service. So we have not updated the hours of service for Metro Mobility in a number of years. These vary by community according to the local system the local bus system that underlies the Metro Mobility area in each case. In 2019, a number of routes, the hours were changed on local bus. In many cases, overnight service was cut back or evening service was reduced somewhat. We'll be catching up the Metro Mobility hours by community to match that, and can certainly provide a link for folks to view those changes by community, because it does vary depending on which city you live in.
My question to that is, there's an ADA law that very simply states, federal law, that if you pick someone up from home, take them to work, then you gotta bring them back. Now, whomever he or she works for is probably expected to work full shift. But they have a service curfew in their area, and for various reasons cannot move, might be a medical reason or something else. In all fairness, that's not fair to the individual working to say, well, I'm supposed to work from 2 to 10 or 3 to 11, but I can only work till 7 o'clock because my service hours get cut at 8 o'clock. Under the ADA law, if you take them there, you got to bring them back. And I would assume that those areas, if you have that stipulation, there can be at some point an adjustment made so that person doesn't become unemployed, very simply. I mean, that's only fair.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the intent of the system, especially the ADA federal mandate, is to complement the local fixed route system. And so our hours of service would be adjusted to match those that are provided on local bus service. I think that's really the adjustment that folks will see. We're also providing really significant advance notice, so as folks need to, if there's other arrangements that they need to make, whether it's a change in hours or a change in transportation mode.
But
they have ample time to do those.
But I would think for the situation that I just mentioned to you, that people can certainly call somebody, come down, have an appointment, and talk to them to let them know the valor of this importance of this. Having to work later. I mean, having to stay later so that you keep your job. And I think that there are exceptions to the rule. I think that there are people that probably whom are in your office. There's got to be somebody we can talk to help us, because this is a real dilemma.
Yep.
To afford the whatever it is we spend on to get back and forth, we have to be employed to do. You usually do that, and there are programs that help. I know that, but we need to talk to somebody if we have a question on this.
Yep, absolutely. And part of why we're doing the advance notification of these changes, here in the summer before they take effect in late November, is so that we can also hear from people. And so we'd be very happy to hear from folks. You can give us a call. You can send us an email.
Okay.
I
might need your card when we go to break then, and
sure.
I'll give you a call.
Yeah. So our Metro Mobility Service Center would be really happy to hear from viewers. We're open Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can reach us at 651-602-1111.
Give them that number again.
Yeah, that's 651-602-1111.
Any other? And the final thought: is there anything that I might have missed that you want to cover?
I think we're just. I just wanted to express a thanks to customers for patience and flexibility as we're implementing not just these changes. But as we're also responding to a pretty significant shortage in drivers right now.
I think that everybody is, and I want to ask this question, and I may be overstepping the start line or the finish line, but I want to see if I can form the question anyway. When the bonuses for the new hires were going to be staggered and taking effect, I've heard from a lot of veteran drivers who have said that I've driven this bus 11 years, and the person who started because they got that bonus is making 91 cents an hour less about than I am. Would it have been more efficient, and I'm just asking the question, to take that pot of money and spread it out amongst all drivers? Then you got a few more people smiling, instead of having this beginning area and it's staggered, and then you've got the veterans saying, wow, they're only making 91 cents less an hour than I am, I've been here 11 years. I mean, it's just a question.
Yeah, so at Metro Mobility, we're really working to hire as many folks as we can. It really is the thing that helps us determine the quality of service we can put out there. Each contractor has their own employment policies on how much they pay. What we set as Metro Mobility is the minimum driver pay.
Right.
And in February, we raised that to a minimum of $20 an hour. And that seems to have begun to make a fairly good effect on the number of drivers that our contractors and service providers are able to get in the door and begin training, and we're hoping to continue that trend as well.
You know, obviously Metro Mobility in the next 4, 5, 10 years is going to grow. Who has to forecast that, and couldn't they pinpoint a more accurate number on, okay, we're going to need this many more buses, we're going to have this many more drivers, so on and so forth?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something we try to work hard to do. I think the pandemic made it very difficult to estimate a number of things. We were able to pivot and provide some other services when demand decreased quite a bit. You know, we tend to provide around a little under 2 million rides a year on Metro Mobility, and right now we're at about 80%. We're kind of slowly recovering in travel demand.
Everybody is.
A big increase last year, and then more of a tapered off of the growth rate, but definitely sustaining that level of ridership across this year. That's what's really created some of the challenges. Okay. That and competition between package delivery and school bus and other kind. There's really significant demand for drivers.
And I have one more question, and that is, I'm going to be honest. A few years ago, in the House and Senate, there was a guy named Mike Beard, and I went to him and I said, Mike, I don't know the first thing about running Metro Mobility, and we've got people over there supposed to be running it, and I don't want to know how to run Metro Mobility. I do care about it, but I said, when it was started as Project Mobility in 1976, it was part of the MTC, and back then we had 6 buses, and you rode a certain small area for a quarter. I mean, and that's 50 years ago, or pretty close. And I somehow wonder if we shouldn't write a bill in the legislature to have it go back to the MTC and let the city buses, the MTC, and everything be under one roof. Now, before everybody gets excited, that means the drivers that we have now that want to transfer over there can. They could probably get their CDL and their air brake license and go drive the big bus for a while. But we'll always have somebody to cover driving the smaller buses. You'll get your birthday off and whatever benefits you get, your retirement, and pretty good insurance and pretty good hourly wage. And I think its initial cost now would be huge, but I think at the end of the day, it would be a little more efficient. And I just feel that we should really take a good look at that.
Yeah, so, you know, whether it's Metro Transit or MTS, you know, I think the important thing is that all of these services are services delivered by the Metropolitan Council. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, we really are under one roof. And, you know, I think what drives us is an interest to provide quality service.
I want you to understand my question. My question is, we would then drop the 3-contractor status, everything go back to the MTC like it was. It's costly now, it would be. But at the end of the day, you figure you get your gas on a commodity. The drivers aren't being laid off. They're going over and working for the MTC and probably average out a couple bucks more an hour, and they can go get their air brake license CDL. That's up to them. But we always have somebody covering and driving our Metro Mobility buses as the population grows, or we divide it up into 6 zones, so you always have a bus coming in and out. But something has to change here pretty quick. I think that we're seeing a ridership growth. I don't think the way that we're doing it is as efficient as it could be. It started out with the MTC at one time, and I'm just asking the question.
Sure. Yeah, appreciate the suggestion, and certainly we're always looking for how we can best deliver these services.
Okay, all right, and one more time, our final word segment, is there anything we might have missed?
No, just Mark, thanks again. Really appreciate being on the program today.
Sure, and I want you to know that I don't want to do this just in one segment, so as we get closer to November, we'll have some more of these things come up, and you can bring up whatever subject you want, so that we keep the public informed as we get closer to November 28th, 2022. And we'll be right back with more Disability Viewpoints in just a moment. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Disability Viewpoint. It is now my honor to introduce Justin Page, who is with the Disability Law Center and has been a real go-to as far as legal research and analysis and answers for this show over the years, and a good friend of mine. So welcome to the show, Justin. Good to have you.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed working with you in the past, and I'm looking forward to being part of this show.
Yeah, it'd be great. I guess the big hot button issue in the disability community now is, of course, Metro Mobility and some of the changes, service hour changes coming to the system as of November 28th, 2022, which is a ways away, but we want to talk about it now. So those of us whom are affected, and there's quite a few, can make our plans. And so if you want to bring us up to date as far as what you've heard and what you know, the time is yours.
So, I'm a supervising attorney at Minnesota Legal Aid and the Disability Law Center. The Disability Law Center provides free legal services to individuals with disabilities who have a legal problem based on those disabilities. Over the years, we have received a number of different complaints regarding Metro Mobility, and we always want to make sure that Metro Mobility and the paratransit system is living up to its obligations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Now, from what I've heard, I haven't seen anything firm, but with regards to service area reductions, Metro Mobility in the paratransit system is required to offer services within 3/4 of a mile, which the regular bus system runs, and they're required to operate, or they're required to have services that for office or for service hours, they're supposed to have it as a comparable to the regular bus system. So if there are changes in a certain suburb or transit area for the bus service, if there's a reduction in hours, there can be a reduction in the hours that Metro Mobility offers. But if there's no reduction in services for the bus service, I don't think there should be a reduction with regards to the Metro Mobility, the services that they offer.
It's supposed to run really in accordance then with the ADA law.
Correct.
Yeah.
Some of the issues that we've seen at the Disability Law Center, because obviously people don't complain when they're receiving good service,
Right.
and I think a lot of people who are using Metro Mobility are receiving good service, which is really good news for people with disabilities. But there are people who do receive late rides, are on the bus or van way longer than they probably should be or need to be, especially in this day and age when you have your smartphone that can
track
you and direct you in kind of the most efficient route. Occasionally we do see problems with individuals with disabilities who use service animals. So those are some of the issues that we see, and obviously I want the service to be as efficient as possible, and that's what I work to do by helping to try to resolve some of these complaints that we get.
We know nothing's perfect, but at the end of the day, we're all tax-paying citizens trying to stretch our dollars for the best service that we can get. And I've had people who it's not my decision or opinion, but I've had people who probably take advantage of the system. Like, for example, we stopped at Grand Prix East and a gal got on just in a bra and called for her boyfriend and then told the driver she couldn't find her go-to card, so she got a free ride down to Aldi's. And they can deduct in the office from your go-to card. And then another instance we had was on Woodbury. The driver couldn't, because the MVT software is pretty old, couldn't find the Woodbury post office. So the driver said, well, there's the mailman, I'll go talk to him. And the passenger decides to get out and go argue with the mailman, then come back on and argue with the driver. At this point, we're all late and where we're supposed to be getting to be. And those are the things that really shouldn't happen. Management should really step in and take somewhat of control. And it's just not necessary. And that's what's really disappointing about it, is that people do take advantage of what is not a bad service. So,
right. And when those issues happen, obviously, people can call our office. We can kind of look into see whether there's a legal requirement that's been violated. Sometimes not necessarily, like, for example, late rides, or just, the bus drivers having a hard time finding locations. We've heard that a number of times. A lot of times our office will interact with Metro Mobility and call them up to kind of find out what the problem is, why it happened, and kind of how can we work to a resolution.
I often wonder when the census is done and we know what the population has grown or it has decreased, there seems to be at times a shortage of drivers because of the unemployment rate, but there seems to be a shortage of buses. When those numbers are dispersed, do you think that they forecast by how much the population is going to grow as far as it getting older? I mean, people aren't going to drive forever. I mean, and when you give up driving, it's tough, but people aren't going to drive forever. So do you suppose they take those statistics and figure out, okay, we need this many buses or this many drivers in the next 10-year period? They can kind of forecast. Do you think that happens?
It's very possible that it could forecast, because I know we are an aging population, and year after year, the demand for paratransit services increases. So we need to make sure that the system is as efficient as possible, so people get where they need to go on time.
Right. So do you think then, let's say that a person does have a problem. They can call your office. What is the process that you do? And then you go research the problem and come back with an answer. What is the process when you call your office and say, hi, my name is Mark Hughes and I've had this problem with Metro Mobility? And they say, okay, we're going to do an intake interview, but we'll research this and then we'll make an appointment to meet with you. How does that
Right.
work?
So the process is people can call our office. The initial contact is with intake staff. Intake staff will do a brief interview and get some basic information, name, address, where you live, telephone number, that sort of thing. And then once that happens, the case will be opened up in our system, and it will be assigned to either an attorney or an advocate, at which point the attorney or advocate will review the intake and then follow up with the individual and set up a time to meet to get more information about the problem. If it is a legal problem that we can assist with, then that might require time to do research on the problem. And then depending upon what the issue is, there are a range of options. It could be that the individual just needs advice. It could be that the individual needs representation. It could be that we help negotiate a resolution. It could be that we help the individual file a complaint with either Metro Mobility or the U.S. Department of Transportation's Office of Civil Rights. So there are a range of different options.
I'm just sitting here smiling because you and I have had cases where you'll say, we accept that or that's unacceptable. So,
Right.
Oh, you get one of those too. But I want to, in all fairness to Metro Mobility, let you know that this happens in other systems, not just Metro Mobility. It can be Greyhound.
Whether you're talking about the airlines,
Right.
Metro Transit, Uber or Lyft, there are or Greyhound. There are a wide variety of different problems that people can experience.
As we said before, nothing's perfect. We're in about our final 2 minutes of this interview, and we would just want to give you a chance in case there's anything we haven't covered. We'll call it the final word segment.
Well, I would just say for individuals who are having problems with Metro Mobility, be that their rides are always late, they're sitting on the bus for, hour and a half, 2 hours, way more than they should. If they have a service animal and they're having problems with the service animal on the driver and the driver allowing the service animal on the bus, which is rare but does occur, I would just encourage people to call the Disability Law Center. And even if it's not necessarily Metro Mobility, because we are the statewide protection and advocacy, there are other paratransit systems in the state. So if people are having problems in the state with any paratransit system, feel free to contact our office.
It's a very good service too that they provide, I can tell you firsthand. And thank you, Justin, for being here.
Yeah, thank
Always
you.
great to have you.
Thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure.
Best you always. We'll be right back with more Disability Viewpoints in just a moment. We hope you've enjoyed this show. We are in our 25th year, and we hope you'll join us next time. We'd like to thank the team at SPNN for producing this show. My name is Mark Hughes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.